nightmare. I can't help but wait. Oh, I can't help but wait. Check it out. I see you with him. He ain't right, but you don't trip. You stand by while he lies, then turn right around and forget. I can't take see your face with those tears run down your cheeks. But what can I do? I gotta stay true, cause deep down I'm still a G. And I don't wanna come between you and your man. Even though I know I treat you better than he can.
Start the day off right. Time to eat, Lip. Time to feed. I don't know.
Till you see that with me it ain't the same. Till you see you for what you really are.
Time to feed, Lip.
Baby girl, you are a star. I can't help but wait. It ain't fresh, so just let him call the shots. You're a queen, you should be getting all that someone's got. You should be rocking the latest in purses, bracelets, and watches. You're worth much more than an occasional I love you. I'm thinking of you, and I don't wanna come between you and your man, no. Even though I know I treat you better than he can. Girl, I can't help but wait till you get that with him. It don't change. Can't help but wait till you see that with me it ain't the same. Can't help but wait till you see you for what you really
Hi, Sheila.
are.
Hi, baby.
You are a star.
Thanks for coming
I
in.
can't help but wait. Get it together. You can do better.
How are you doing? I know you've had some trying times this week. I've been in the bushes. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it. My commentary is going to be pretty interesting this morning. So let me get back into it.
See is believing, and I see what you need, so I'm gonna play my position, let you catch what you've been missing. I'm calling out.
Well, I've learned so much. I have learned so much the past couple of weeks that I've been researching this because, you know, you can run into anything on YouTube and anybody can tell you anything on YouTube. And just because they come and tell you this or they show you this, it doesn't mean it's true. So yesterday I was in Deanna's chat minding my business and Shakina Thorogood dropped down in the chat looking for me. And this is why I be in the low most of the time, because I don't want drama brought over into different people's chats. It's embarrassing. And I don't operate like that. But she dropped down in a chat that I was in, and it just shows that this lady is mentally unstable, because no one in their right mind is going to drop down in a chat of 200. Yeah, oh, it's worse than that. It's worse than that. I got some information I'm getting ready to drop here in a second. And we've been on here long enough. We can't see the people, but we've been on here long enough where we can see the actions. We've seen the actions. We've seen the way they move. We've seen what they said. Those eyeballs that I put up on that other page, those little bitty eyeballs, those little bitty jet black eyeballs, that video that I made. Oh, yeah. It's all mental illness. And I'm like, I understand it now. And I'm going at it differently. I'm not going to be on here calling nobody no bitches. And well, I really wasn't good on that anyways. It's just not in my characteristics. But I'm going to be on here letting you hear, or me telling you exactly what's going on or what I saw or what I truly know. And what I truly know is this individual is sick and the followers are sick. And they gaslight her. They actually drop down in her chat and tell her stuff for her to go after people. So it's like, you don't know. Sometimes you want to feel sorry for her because they sitting up there making her look stupid. And she jumps in and be like, oh, they said that, they did this. Oh, well, I'm going to roast that bitch tomorrow. I'm going to roast that bitch tomorrow. But I'm like, if you're sitting up making videos about someone's life, about someone's past life that they've got on here and shared with us, and then you take it back to your platform and you ride a person about having sex with a married man when they were 17 years old. Now the person's 54 years old. But you're riding a person about something that they did in their past that's none of your concern, but you're obsessed with riding this person. You're mentally ill. There's something wrong. And I've found it. And I also know that you said that you didn't know why. I said you were looking for me. If you go over to Deanna's chat, Deanna don't want you in that chat. And if you go over there and I'm over there, the only reason why you're going over there is because of me. Now, I have you blocked. So when you drop down in the chat, I had no idea you were even in the chat until people started running. When people started running and locking their doors and locking their windows and turning off their devices and, and changing their passwords because you were in the chat, that's when I knew you were there. Now I'm going to finish my commentary, and then I'm going to, at the end, I'm going to run my mouth. So I'm not going to finish this song because I talked and I have a lot to feed you this morning. And I'm going to start right here.
I miss my cocoa butter kisses. Hope you smile when you listen. Ain't no competition, just competing for attention. And you like, I'm not on no games, but baby, I've been peeping, and you ain't been the same. Like, who been on your mind? Who got your time?
Sheila, I saw that. I saw you were talking about you were going to change your channel, and I saw the drama, and I seen you were upset, and I seen the people in the chat. I was in the bushes. It is what it is. It's YouTube. But you don't have drama like this. You got control of your drama, Sheila. You do.
Who you been vibing with, and why can't make you mine? You used to be texting me, checking me, calling me.
Now, before I start this commentary, I am not like, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to open up some eyeballs. Yeah, I'm trying to open up some eyeballs because you have to have all this trauma in your life for you to be this person. And this is part of the trauma.
And now you treat me like my word less than a dime. And if we paint a perfect picture, we can make it last forever. You're the only one I want to wear my orange sweater. I told you how you down for the worse or the better. What's up, YouTube? I'm back with another video finally. I know I don't post on here much, but today I'm like basically opening to talk about the situation, as most people already know the situation. Before I even get started with the video, I just want whoever on her. This will be PG-13. This will be like a PG-13 type. Not gonna cap. Like, it's gonna be PG-13, but it might get a little rated R, some might say. So basically, if you're not mature enough, if you got childish tale, if you can't take what I'm trying to talk about, obviously it's in the description and it's the caption, the title. If you can't take it and listen and shut up, then you can click off the video, because like I don't got time for the childishness or none of that, and I don't want nobody to feel uncomfortable, think I'm corny or whatever. So basically, as some men know, my daddy was touching on me, raping on me, fucking on me, whatever you want to say, up to age I was 4 to 14. So basically, when I was 4, I'm not gonna like tell like about all the times, because that's a lot of times, honey. So I'm gonna just talk about the times that
A lot of times.
basically when I was 4 and 14. So basically when I was 4, I remember it head to toe. When I was 4, I remember I was watching, I want to say it was That's So Raven. It was some the Disney Channel show. It was either That's So Raven. It had to be like That's So Raven, or it was Dora. I forgot. So it's hard to remember all that now. But so basically, I was watching TV. His girlfriend was there. Yes, that bitch was there when he did it to me. Hold up, let me calm down. Let me go ahead and get to the story. So basically, I was watching TV like I said. I'm like rethinking it. I was watching TV like I said, and then he had came in there or whatever, and he was like, "It's time to take a nap, whatever." So he had laid me down or whatever. Yeah, he had laid me down. I was kind of tired anyway, so he had laid me down, and I remember when he let me, I went straight to sleep. Like I said, I was tired anyway, so I had went straight to sleep, no hesitation. So as I was asleep, like I can feel, like I could feel him touching me, but you know I'm 4 years old. I don't even know how to spell sex, rape, molestation, molested. I don't even know how to spell that at the age of 4.
That's why we say that you don't just get raped, you're groomed. You are groomed. So what you walked in on was not the first time. It wasn't. Let's talk about it.
So I really don't know what's going on. So I had actually woke up. Like I was asleep for about maybe about an hour. It felt like an hour. So I had basically got up, and he was like touching on me, touching on my leg or whatever. That's not when he had raped me, though. That's not when he had raped me, though. He didn't actually rape me until basically I had went back to sleep, and I woke up again. Like it wasn't nobody touching me, and I just had woke up to find him and his girlfriend having sex. His to then now girlfriend. She's weird. Like I had like found them basically, you know, having sex or whatever, and she had told me she was like. Basically like something about taking the dick, and about something about when you get older you gonna want a nigga with a dick about this big or whatever. And me being a kid, I remember exactly what I said. I was like, really? Or whatever. And she was like talking to me like I was the age I am now. I was a baby. So basically, I had got up and I had left. I remember I had left after like the little weird ass, nasty ass conversation she tried to have with me. I had got up and I left, and I didn't go to sleep at all. Actually, skip forward. I was watching TV. I had got some food. They had given me some food or whatever. Right. Skip forward. She had got in the shower, and my daddy told me to come here. So I said, okay. So I go in there in the room. He cracks the door. He don't even close it. So he cracks the door or whatever. And he basically like picked me up, put me on bed. He pulled down my pants, my Fruit of the Loom door panties, and he did what he did. Like I can like still remember that pain to this day. So I was crying and screaming. Like I was screaming and I was crying, cause like shit hurt like a bitch. And on top of that, what the fuck? So
I was screaming, I was crying. His girlfriend had actually came out the room and she had picked in the door and I looked her in her eye and I was like, help me. And she didn't even help me. She didn't even have the generosity. She didn't even do that. Basically, she just sit up there and watched her man rape a 4-year-old. So that's that story. I don't know how. So that's that story. Skip to when I was 14. Cause yeah.
4, 5, 6,
So
7,
he
8,
had
9,
went
10,
to jail
11,
in the
12,
gap.
13,
I
14.
ain't
So
gonna
that's
cap. He
11
went to jail in
years
the
of
gap.
having sex with
But
your
I stopped
father.
seeing him around the age
Groomed.
of 5. So basically, he was only raping me when I was 4, 5, and 14. So I had like, thank the gods he had went to jail in the gap.
4, 5, and 14.
So he didn't end up going to jail until I was 7. But like I said, he wasn't around, so I didn't see him much. Okay. So I didn't see him much. So basically, like I said, we're gonna skip forward. My mom had picked him up from the jail thing. I wasn't with her when they had picked him up. I was over my cousin's house. So they had came and got me after they had picked. I'm gonna call him DeMarco. But because his fucking name, that nigga ain't my daddy. So DeMarco was in the car. My mom had came and got me. Whatever. She had took us to McDonald's. Chatted up. What a whoop, what a boo. I never spoke on what he did to me, to be honest. Cause like I don't know why. I was just so in denial that happened. So like I would tell myself, basically it didn't happen. So basically, we was chatting up or whatever, and I had went upstairs, and he had came up to my room upstairs, like say about 6 minutes later. So he had came up there or whatever. I'm sitting on my bed talking. He had come next to me and sat on the bed. He started touching on my legs or whatever. So I scoot over and I'm like, chill, bro. So skip forward from that because like I don't know. It's just like it's kind of hard for me to talk about like what it led to because like it's kind of sad. I could have prevented that low key. I wouldn't. No, that ain't low key. That's high key. I could have prevented what happened to me again. But so we're gonna skip forward to the day. So this nigga wasn't even out of jail for a month, bruh. A month. So he only out for 2 or 3 days. I don't remember. I think it was 3 days. And the third day, that's when he had touched me. So basically, I was asleep. It was early in the morning. It's not early in the morning. It's like 12, 1 o'clock. And my mama had left. She had dropped off my little sister somewhere. So as she had left, I was still asleep. So I'm guessing maybe she was only gone for like 10 minutes. So we're like, when she had because she had to go to a couple of, she had to jump from my sister, she had to go somewhere else, and I think I was telling her about something that I wanted, and she was going to look for it. So skip forward to, what is it? I think I had took a shower, and I had made me a hot pocket or something. I was trying to remember what I did before I had like asked to play the game. So after all of that, after I ate and I had took a shower, I had went in the room. Because, like, I ain't gonna cap, I always wanted a father in my life. Like, I always wanted a father, I always wanted a dad. I always wanted a man to, like, love me and care for me. Because, like, I grew up without that. So, like, I was kind of, I forgot the word, very gullible to him. Because, like, he knew, like, basically, he knew how I was thinking. So basically, I had one in the room, and I was like, "Hey, good morning, whatever. You playing the game? Can I play the game? Whatever." Chat it up, father-daughter type shit. So I'm like, "Okay, let
father-daughter type shit."
So he like, "Hold up," or whatever. I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So he had got up, like, give me about 5 minutes take. He had got up. I don't know why I did my eyes like that. He had got up. And he was like, get on the ground. That's what it was. Okay, yeah. He was like, get on the ground. And I was like, why would I get on the ground? And he had closed the door, locked it. And I'm like, getting on the ground. He was like, get the fuck on the ground. I'm like, no, I'm not getting on the ground. The fuck I look like getting on the ground. He's like, get on the ground, basically blackmailing me, like, I'll tell your mama this, and the third, what do we put it? So I'm kind of scared because, like, I feel like my mama will believe him over me, kind of. So I was kind of scared to, like, you know, like, I was scared. I was really scared. He intimidated the fuck out of me. So I had started crying. I was like, I don't want to get on the floor. We'll put a pool, whatever. He like, get on the floor. I'm not going to ask you no more. Are you going to get the fuck out of this room? And I'm going to tell your mom all of this. So I'm like, taking my deep breaths. My stupid ass get on the floor. So, okay. So I get on the floor. And as I got on the floor, he had got on top of me. He had got on top of me. And he had, like, slowly pulled down my pants. I said, no, don't do this. Like, yeah, like, I said, don't do it. Period. I blank. I didn't, like, just sit there and let it happen. I said, stop, don't do it. I started kicking a little bit or whatever. Then he started getting a little aggressive, and then shit started, like, like, grabbing on my arm and shit. And I'm like, I don't got time for no bruises. So I started kicking, and then I started yelling. And then he covered my mouth, and he was like, quit yelling. So I stopped yelling because, like I said, he intimidated me. Like, I was really scared. At that moment, I was really scared for my life. Okay. I was really scared. So he had basically put out the pants all the way, got on top of me, and raped me. And he did give me oral sex, too. And he gave me oral sex, too. And when he was doing it to me, I ain't even gonna lie, I was like, in my head, I wanted to die, because like I said, that shit hurt. Because I was a virgin at the age of 14, you know, or whatever. So we gonna talk about how I basically told my parents. So when I'm a parent, my mama. Actually, I told my cousin, my best cousin, like, I love that girl to this. I had told her. And she was like, oh, hell the fuck no. So they told their mama, and my mama and their mama's in the car together. So basically, my auntie came out there. She was like, Rashida, Marco fucking on your daughter. And mind you, Marco's inside the house somewhere. I don't even know what he's doing. So basically, my mama had pulled me aside. She told me, come on. And I told her the story. Basically, he had raped me and this, that, and the third. And he was just like, she started crying. I hate, like, even, like, recapping that in my head because that's so emotional. She had started crying, and he came out there, and he started attacking me. Like, bro was hitting me in my back and every fucking thing. Like, I ain't even gonna lie. So basically, that's kind of like the story. Basically, a lot of people like wanted me to like tell the story or whatever. So he didn't actually, like, I think I should tell you about, like, he did go to jail. He didn't go to jail the same night. He went to jail like 9 months later. So he finally went to jail. It was 9 months. I'm happy. I'm tweaking. Wait, was it 9 months? Yeah, I think it was 9 months later. He went to jail like around 5, 9, something like that. I don't even remember. 9 months later, he was in jail. And he's so sick in the head. I remember people telling me that he was in jail. Well, he was in jail because, like, I know some people in jail. They was like telling me that. Basically, he's telling people that I was sleeping around. So basically, he ended up on Nationwide News Channel. Motherfucker, that nigga, he was on like the whole Nationwide News Channel. There's like a whole article about it, which I'm gonna like put it in the description below. Cause like, I don't know, some people might have not, I don't know. But most people in my hometown know what I'm talking about. But anyway, thank y'all for watching my video. Like and subscribe. I
I'm Nick Niven, and I'm a StreamYard user. For the last 6 years, I've been live streaming.
Okay, Mrs. Johnston, let's talk about the abuse.
There wasn't no drugs in my house. I didn't play that. There wasn't no drugs in my house. Precious, no, I will whoop her ass if she gonna bring some drugs up in my house.
You know what I'm talking about. I'm referring to specific sexual and physical acts involving Precious.
Why you ain't say that?
Yes, that.
What you want to know?
According to Precious,
Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I'm back. Internet is acting up. We're having some bad weather. Hold on a second, because this is so interesting.
Precious, and we had dreams. Precious was born around the same time Miss Weiss. Miss Weiss.
I need to know why you're here. You've been calling this office saying you want to be reunited with Precious and your grandchild. Now, I really need to know what's gone on in that home.
Miss Weiss, I understand we need to discuss it, but I'm just telling you, you said I've been calling here and I've been wanting to see Precious and my grandson. You goddamn right I want to see him because they belong to me, okay? Now, there was a time Precious had everything, and I done told her that. And me and Carl, we love Precious. And you need to know that. We love Precious, and we had dreams. Precious was born around the same time Miss West's son got killed. The summertime. She was born the summertime. Remember that?
I was born in November.
November. Yeah. That's right. My Scorpio child. You know, Scorpios, they can be tricky. And I'm not saying that they lie. I'm not saying that. But you just gotta watch them.
Can we talk about the actual acts of physical and sexual abuse that occurred in your household? When it first began, where it happened, and how did you respond?
Precious was a little girl.
Try and remember how old you think she was.
She was 3. And I had
Groomed.
been giving her the bottle.
Groomed.
And I was giving Carl the titty because my milk hadn't dried up in my breasts. But not from her, but because Carl was sucking on that.
Hold on.
And that's what kept my...
So you want Cruz to give the whole story about her not doing cocaine anymore? Well, give us the whole story about what happened to you. Should you be in jail? Should the lip be in jail? I don't know.
Milk in my breasts. And I thought that was for hygiene. I did what my mother told me that I was supposed to do with my child. So that's what I did. And you're sitting up there and you're trying to judge me.
I'm not judging you, but you're asking me for money and you're asking me to be reunited with your grandson.
But Miss Weiss, I don't like you looking at me like that. You got this bitch looking at me like I'm some kind of fucking monster.
We don't talk like this in my office, okay?
I didn't want her sucking behind him because that was nasty. And the things that it was just nasty, Miss Weiss. I had a man and I have a child. And I had to take care of both of them. Okay? Did I want Carl to touch my baby? Because I would lay my baby. I would lay her on the side of me on this pillow. And it was pink. And it had this little white writing on it, and it had her name. Because she was precious. And I would lay my baby on that pillow. And Carl would be laying on the other side. And then we would start doing it, and he reached over. And he touched my baby. And I asked him, I said, Carl, what are you doing? And he told me to shut my fat ass up, and it was good for her.
And what did you do then?
I shut my fat ass up. And I don't want you to sit there and judge me, Miss Weiss.
You shut up and you let him abuse your daughter.
I did not want him to abuse my daughter. I did not want him to hurt her. I did not want him to do nothing to her. I wanted him to make love to me. That was my man. That was my fucking man. It was my man. And he wanted my daughter. And that's why I hated her. Because my man, who was supposed to be loving me, who was supposed to be making love to me, was fucking my baby. And she made him leave. She made him go away.
So whose fault was it then?
It's this bitch's fault because she let my man have her and she didn't say nothing. She didn't scream. She didn't do nothing. So those things that she told you I did to her, who else was going to love me? Since you got your degree and you know every fucking thing, who was going to love me? Who was going to make me feel good? Who was going to touch me and make me feel good later than that? And she made him go away. So when you sit there and you write them fucking notes on your pad about who you think I am and why I did it and all of that, because I didn't have the people from each one to each one, they had they called me and they told me that my baby was writing poems. In fact, you know what? Wait a minute. sorry. I'm sorry. And Miss Weiss, I don't want no checks. I don't need no more money. Please, I'm so sorry.
I took that tab test again.
What happened?
I scored a 7.8. Last time it was 2.8. According to that test, I'm reading at a 7th and 8th grade level. Next year, high school. After that, college. But I like you too. But you can't handle me. You can't handle none of this. You know, I never knew what you was until this day. Not even after all them things you did. Maybe I was too stupid. Maybe I just didn't want it. You ain't gonna see me no more. I didn't want him to hurt my baby. Please, God, I didn't want him to hurt my baby. Miss Weiss, I didn't want him to hurt my baby. And I would say to him, I would say, Carl, what you doing? What you doing? What you doing? What you doing? Can you go get her back? You can do that because that's what you do. That's what you do. I need you to go and I need you to get my baby back. You told me that I could come in here and you could get Precious to say it. Miss Weiss. Miss Weiss. Miss Weiss.
It took a long time to find this place.
Every emotion I repressed, every pain. Meeting this birthday by sharing my story with all of you all over the world of how I overcame childhood sex abuse. I am going to be transparent and somewhat explicit about some of the details, so trigger warning. There will be a link in the description box with details of different international helplines. So I'm originally from Zimbabwe and that's where I grew up. My parents split up when I was a baby, and though my dad lived abroad at the time, while I lived with my mother and I grew up with her side of the family, my dad was still very much a part of my life. He would call all the time, and he was actually the parent that was more affectionate, telling me he loves me all the time, and he would visit every year. And even though I was his only child at the time, I knew that I was my daddy's favorite child. That was until one day something happened that changed my life forever, and might even change yours today. When I was 11 years old, I moved to Hungary to live with my dad and my then stepmom. One day, while I was sat on his lap, we were in the living room and he was on the phone. My stepmom was in the kitchen right next to us preparing dinner for us. My dad had his hand on my stomach on the top of my t-shirt. He eventually moved his hand underneath my t-shirt and had direct contact with my stomach. And he would eventually move his hand up to my breast and he would start playing around with them. Now, in my mind, I knew that what dad is doing is wrong, but I also knew that my dad loves me. So how could my dad that loves me be doing the wrong thing to me? And I just became very confused and I froze. I knew I should stop him, but I couldn't find the voice to say something. I couldn't find the strength to get up from his lap and move. All in the meanwhile, he was still talking on the phone, and he never missed a breath. He never missed a beat. My stepmom was still in the kitchen preparing dinner for us. I don't know how long that moment lasted. All I know is, after that, we had dinner just like a normal family. The next day, my dad picked me up from school and he asks me, what I did to you yesterday, why didn't you stop me? I said, I don't know. And that was the truth, I didn't know. And then he said, A, you enjoyed it, B, you were scared, and he gave me a bunch of other options that I was supposed to choose from as a reason to why I didn't stop him. My theory now is that he was just trying to figure out how vulnerable I was and how likely I was to tell someone. And through that conversation, I proved myself extremely vulnerable and unlikely to tell anyone what he did. So the abuse continued, and it escalated to kissing, touching over a period of months. He would have conversations with me about what we were supposedly doing. And the last time he would touch me physically, it ended up being rape. My way of dealing with it was to just shut down. It's not happening. My soul left my body. I repressed every emotion. I repressed every pain. I just pretended it wasn't happening, because how could I at 11, 12 years old deal and handle the fact that I was being sexually abused, and it was by my own father, the man that I knew. He adored me and he loved me. So I shut down, and I did my best to bury those memories. But fast forward 2 years later, I had moved to England and I was 14 years old. The memories refused to be buried. I used to love it when my friends would knock for me so we could walk to school together, because it meant that I did not have to be alone with my thoughts and my pain. But now, whether I was alone or not, the thoughts and the memories just kept coming back, and they were coming back stronger and more painful, and I couldn't shut them off anymore. And that was the moment I realized that, you know what, if I don't do something about this, this thing is going to break me from the inside out. So I decided to tell my then 14-year-old best friend. Excuse me, guys, just bear with me. I told my best friend, and I thank God for you, Angel, that you had the wisdom to encourage me to speak to an adult. After much deliberation and consideration of all the possible outcomes, I finally decided to tell my auntie and my then stepmom. After I told them what happened, my auntie told my mom for me, who was still living in Zimbabwe, is still living in Zimbabwe, because how could I tell my mom that this man that she once loved and conceived me with had done this to me? So my mother and my auntie made an agreement that I would now move out of my dad's house and come live with my auntie. When the story came out to the entire family, my dad said I was lying. He said I was hallucinating. I was making everything up. And it got me even angrier, because finally I had the courage to speak up. Finally I found my voice again. But yeah, here you are shutting me down by saying I am lying. I was so angry. But I thank God for my auntie and my uncle who took me in and adopted me into their family. And one thing they said, they kept on repeating to me, was that, Sesanda, your past does not have to determine your future. And I held on to those words. We told other family members, and some of them, they just pretended they never heard the story, never called me. To this day, I haven't heard from some of the family members that know this story. None of them have even bothered to ask me, at the very least, to ask me if this thing is true, if it really happened. Another response was that we're passing on this story to the elders of the family, because that's how we deal with those things. But I never heard from the elders of the family. Of all the people that knew,
trying to tell us something, telling us if we pay close enough attention and don't dismiss those feelings within us that come when we feel or see or recognize that stare from a narcissist. Often we dismiss those feelings that are trying to tell us something, our instincts that are trying to tell us something, because we don't have any form of physical evidence to go on to listen to those instincts. We can sometimes judge ourselves a bit too much when we should actually be listening to ourselves. So this video is going to be about the narcissist's eyes and the narcissist stares. Thank you very much to all the returning subscribers. I hope you're finding the information helpful on the channel. If you are new to the channel, this channel is all about the narcissist personality disorder, to give you more understanding of the people you might be or have been dealing with throughout your life, the things that you have been through throughout your life, and different methods to find what works for you as a person to recover from narcissistic abuse. If you do find the information helpful on the channel, please do subscribe. So when it comes to a narcissist stare, sometimes their looks can be extremely intense, as there's almost an extreme force behind that look, behind that gaze at times. We just don't quite recognise what is going on behind that look. Often people do say the eyes are the gateway to the soul, or things along those lines. And yes, if we pay close enough attention to the looks that people are giving us, it often gives us an idea of the thoughts that are going off within their minds. We do have to be careful on making a judgment, because there can be different meanings behind different looks depending on different people. So you've also got to look at people's patterns of behaviour, just not a look they might give. For instance, a narcissist, I'll go into it in the video, but a narcissist will often look away if they are telling a lie. You can also have someone who's shy that might look away if they're saying something that they don't feel comfortable with sharing that information about themselves. So you are looking at patterns of behaviour. If their stories aren't matching up, you're most likely dealing with someone that's got something to hide and is trying to hide it from you with physical evidence or by their voice. But their eyes give the game away. And then you've also got people that just feel uncomfortable, so look away. So what are the narcissist's eyes telling you? So if someone has 5 of the 9 characteristics of the narcissist personality disorder, I'll have that video up here. If they've got at least 5 of these traits within them, their eyes will most likely be telling you the following. So that stare can be that intense gaze where their eyes are wide open. They can almost be looking at you in amazement, in awe of you. Or they can be looking at you almost judgmental with that envious face. They can be looking at you with a smugness within their eyes, or they can be looking at you with a coldness within their eyes. In the beginning, when they've got that admiration face on and they are mirroring you, it can be that intense admiration stare, that amazement stare, that way you feel really deeply connected to them, and they've got a warmth to their eyes because they are mirroring who you are as a person. You become connected within that gaze. Sometimes you can be in a crowded room, yet if you're in the beginning stages of a relationship with a narcissist and they've got your eye contact, they've got your attention, you can feel like there is only the 2 of you within that room. When a narcissist is doing this, it makes you feel comfortable with them, it makes you feel cared for. And if you've just come out of a relationship, or if your parents never listened to you, if your ex never paid attention to you, if you always felt like people were judging you, criticising you, putting you down, invalidating you, especially if you had narcissistic parents, but also if you had a narcissistic ex, by the end they will not have been listening to who you were as a person. So when you meet someone that is then listening to who you are as a person, it becomes intense and you feel comfortable around them. And then when they start asking about your previous relationships, your childhood, you become more attached to them and more willing to open up to them because you've no reason not to. You're coming from a place of honesty and trust, and you believe that they are doing the same. Even if you've been hurt in the past, you would believe that someone is coming from the same place that you are, so you open up to them. And with that, they can be really paying attention and hanging on almost every word you're saying. And if somebody has hurt you, they can sit there and claim that they would never do anything like that to you. And if they ever lay their hands on that person, and how could someone be so cruel? And they almost come across as your hero, your saviour. And at the same time, while they've got that gaze, while they're building up that connection, they start asking about your dreams, your hopes, your passions, what you would like from life, so that they can agree with you. And as they're mirroring your body language, as they've got that eye contact, that gaze, that intense stare, and as they're mirroring your dreams from life, that love bombing does become extremely intense. They are idolizing you with their eyes to put you on that pedestal, to lift you back up from where you once were. And it is an intense and amazing place to be, and there's no reason to believe that anything untoward is going on. When you do meet somebody in the future, make sure it's a two-way conversation. Make sure there is that two-way conversation. We ourselves, when people are asking us questions, we don't want to be rude by interrupting and asking about them. Even though we want to know about them, we might not want to come across as rude. So we can end up going with the flow of the conversation, almost that people-pleasing without realising we're people-pleasing. So sometimes breaking the conversation down and asking them for information out about them, trying to make it a two-way conversation, because a narcissist will often not want to do that. They'll be fixed on gaining information about you, so further down the line, they can use that against you. Sometimes you can be out and about, you can just be doing something and you can feel that intense stare, like somebody is watching you. You just get that feeling when someone's watching you. I remember being out within about 4 weeks of meeting, I'm not going to diagnose, but within 4 weeks of meeting them, and I was playing pool with my children. I can just remember that feeling. And as I looked round, they were literally staring at me. I can remember at the time not being able to work out what it was, and I can remember feeling very uncomfortable. Looking back now, I see it as that predatory glare, but as I didn't know them, as I didn't understand what was actually happening, and so it almost looked a bit vacant. They were looking directly at me, but I couldn't get their attention, and it didn't last that long. So although my instincts were trying to tell me something, I shut them down because I was just there must just be in a world of their own, and they just happened to be looking in my direction as I happened to look around and see that they were looking in my direction. And even though I waved, they ignored me. But they were looking directly at me. It is that almost predatory glare when they're either gathering data on you or they're feeling envious towards you. And sometimes it can be mistaken as they're looking admiringly at you, especially if they do acknowledge you. You can look at other people admiringly. You can admire someone for their looks or their talents or their achievements and be happy for that person. So if someone looks at you, you can take it as an admiring look. It's like I say, if you turn around and wave and they wave back at you, you can take it as an admiration, a look of admiration, not realising that it is more that predatory look within them, which can also be the stare of envy. So if you're talking to someone they don't want you talking to, or if you're doing something they don't want you doing, that they feel jealous of, that they feel envious of, they can give you that stare of envy, and you might not know at the time what that stare is all about. Again, it's just going to make you feel uneasy. It's just going to make you feel uncomfortable. I wonder what is actually, and we don't question their stare, we question ourselves. We think, oh, what's that look for? What have I done? And if we ask them, they'll tell us what we've done, and we blame ourselves. And we get into the whole gaslighting situation, but they can look at you with that intense, envious face. They can look at you like they care and like they're interested in what you've got to say, but they're actually vacant. They're actually not listening to what you're saying. They have cognitive empathy, so in one way they know how they are supposed to feel, or they know how we potentially feel, but they don't have the emotional empathy to connect. So they can play on our empathy, they can play off our empathy, and they can use our empathy against us. So they can give us those almost pitying looks when something has happened to us, where you would expect most people to give you comfort, or where you would comfort somebody else if that was something that happened to someone you cared about, how you would comfort that person. But with a narcissist, they'll almost give you a look of pity where it almost seems like they care, but they don't care. And you can't quite work out what is happening within that situation. Again, your instincts might be saying that something feels off, but everyone's different, everyone reacts different. People don't always like showing emotion, and we make those excuses up within our own mind, and often a narcissist will gaslight excuses into our minds. They can also then go on their own pity play. And usually when you are discussing something that's happened to you, that's hurt you or hurt your feelings, you can strike up that two-way conversation with them. But people will discuss similar things that's happened to them in a way to relate to each other, to understand each other, to help each other out, not to dismiss your feelings or dismiss what's happened to you or bring it all about them. It's to have that two-way conversation, try and help each other out, mutual understanding. With a narcissist, it will be to diminish whatever has happened to you and to invalidate whatever's happened to you, and whatever happened to them is far, far, far worse, to bring the attention back onto them. So they might look to pity you in the moment, but they will quickly turn the conversation into all about them to gain that attention that they require, as they believe they're entitled to it. The sheepish look, the dismissive look, the avoidant look, often when they are lying about something, they might even cover their mouth as they are lying about something, but it's that look where if you're going to have a conversation about something they'd said they'd have a conversation about, or they are causing that intrigue where they don't want to give you the full information, or lying by omission, so that you're left questioning, wondering what on earth is happening. And if you go to ask them and they don't want to tell you, this is when they might not look at you. They might look away from you. Again, you've got to listen to what they're actually saying, what your feelings are, their pattern of behaviour, because some people can just be shy, so it depends on the circumstances. Some people can be anxious. People with anxiety do often struggle with making eye contact. People with depression can struggle with making eye contact. With a narcissist, they're usually quite arrogant, so most of the time they will make direct eye contact. And with some, especially psychopaths, they will often make eye contact when they are telling outright lies. And some narcissists that believe the lies they are telling will make direct eye contact. Some, if they feel like you've got the information where it might work against them, they will go into that sheepish look. They will look away, or they will gaze into the distance. They will change the subject, and they will start gaslighting you with things like, you misunderstood me, that never happened, you're overreacting, you're being too sensitive. They will create some conflict, they will create some drama to get out of the situation they're in, so that they're not held responsible for their behaviour. When they devalue you, it's that look of disapproval, that look of disappointment, where you feel like you want the ground to swallow you whole because you might have done something that you think is good, and most people think is good, but because the narcissist is envious of you or doesn't want you doing something, it can be down to an outfit you've put on because they want to control where you go and what you wear. So it can be down to the friends you're going out with. They can give you that disapproving, pitiful look that makes you turn inwards and question, I wonder if I do look okay in this. And some narcissists will covertly say, do you think you should wear that? So with their look and with their words, it seems like they might care, like they'll walk into the room and look at you and so that you question who you are as a person and not their actions, not their behaviour. Or you can have the overt that will tell you exactly what they think you look like in what you're wearing, or what they think of the people that you're going out with to cause the isolation. So you can have that look of almost disgust coming from them. People can look at people with a look of disgust. There's a difference. Usually when people look at people with a look of disgust, it's because somebody has done something to hurt another person. Someone has done something that is against a moral code. Someone has done something that's against the law, against the rules. Someone has been disrespectful. Someone has exploited someone. Someone has done something that is hideous. So people can give a look of disgust. With a narcissist, it's the reason behind why they're giving the look of disgust. And it's usually not because the person's done anything wrong. It's because the narcissist is wanting to devalue that person so they can gain control over that person. When they are discarding, you've often got that look of coldness within their eyes, that look of contempt, as though, and it does make you feel like you are worthless and like you are beneath them. The look from a narcissist can make us feel so many things without the words and the actions behind that actual look that makes us feel worthless. We might not have even done anything wrong, but when they give you that look that makes you feel beneath them, it makes you question who you are as a person. Or it can be when you're sat there in the pain that they have caused you, and they will offer no support. They will sit there and watch you cry with that little glint in their eye, with the smirk on the face, and they will blame you for the pain you're feeling. And you end up trying to apologise and make it up to them for the pain they caused you. And that look, you can be so overwhelmed by emotion, but because of that intense look, you might catch that glimpse. Then you question yourself, and they come at you with, you're being too sensitive, you're overreacting. You question whether you are being too sensitive rather than the fact that they don't care. This is the stare of malice when they seek to harm, they seek to hurt you, they plot some form of revenge against you, whether it's the smear campaigns, whether they're about to go into the almighty rage to get you to freeze on the spot and conform to them and walk on eggshells in the future. But there is that look of malice within their eyes, that is the look that will make you feel unsafe. Again, sometimes because it's only a look and it might only be a moment's look, we can then question ourselves and not the person who is feeling that malice in that moment towards us for things that we haven't even done. It's often due to their envy of us, that they want to sabotage us in some way. They want to bring us down to feel better about themselves. They want to hurt us to run from their own pain. Or when the narcissist has suffered that narcissistic injury and you get the cold, the blank, the dark eyes that almost freezes the entire room, it freezes your soul. It can make you freeze on the spot out of panic, out of fear of what they are going to do, and that a person you once fell in love with, that looked at you so intensely and so lovingly and so kindly, is gone. And in place, it looks like almost nobody is home. It's a bone-chilling, spine-chilling, whatever the word is.
It's empty.
It's not a nice situation to be in. Sometimes we can
Those
see
eyeballs
smoke
are
and
empty.
run. Most of the times we freeze because that look does have the ability to freeze you in that moment. And then there's their stare of the pity play. Those puppy dog eyes that they can put on so well. So when they've reached the rage stare and they've done something to hurt you, and you might take action of leaving them, which they don't want you to do if they haven't got any other sources of supply lined up. So they then come at you with those pity play, those puppy dog eyes to almost look like they care. And we know people make mistakes. We make mistakes as people because they've projected and blame shifted and gaslit us. We can question our reactions to their actions and blame ourselves. And or when they're coming with, I'm sorry, if only you, and they've got those puppy dog eyes on. And if you look at them because you care about them, because you have that object consistency, so even when there is conflict or distance, you still care about that person, even if you don't want to care about that person. So when they're coming at you with those pity plays, or when they're claiming somebody's ill or they're ill and they're reaching out and you want to help them, and then they've got those puppy dog eyes on to pull you in on your empathy, to pull you in on your sympathy. Those puppy dog eyes pull on our heartstrings. They soften our mood with whatever's happened in the background. With a narcissist, they're only going to soften their mood as and when they please if they want to exploit someone. With us, because we care about somebody, when they're doing the pity plays and they've got the pity play look within their eyes, it can soften our mood. It can give us those feelings of forgiveness of, oh, they didn't mean it. Oh, they're not really that bad, are they? Well, if only I hadn't, they wouldn't. But look at them. And then when they come at you with, remember when we did this, to pull those memories up, to pull those emotions into play, to pull those emotions into force. And they are intense emotions when they've been idolizing and love bombing and then future faking, giving you that false hope. But when they come with those puppy dog eyes, it is also very intense. What we have to remember is their pattern of behaviour. Are they ever truly there for us when we needed them the most, or do they walk away from us when we needed them the most? Are they around for us when they need us? Do they leave us when they don't need us? There's a whole pattern of behaviour, there's a whole manipulation going on, there's a whole gaslighting going on. So things like, are they promising things and then never delivering? And yes, we can all make a promise in a moment and not deliver, but we would be aware, we would be responsible for our behaviour, we would be responsible for why we haven't done something. We would explain it in a way of why we didn't do it, not that we didn't do it because of what someone else did. So it's watching the whole pattern of behaviour, as well as watching how you feel around someone. If you don't feel like you can be yourself around someone, if you don't feel safe around somebody, if you feel like you're losing who you are, if you're constantly questioning your words, your actions, your emotions, if you daren't speak up to somebody for the basic things of how you are feeling in a moment, and they're not there to be supportive of you, they are not the one for you. Narcissist or not, if someone is going to continue to hurt you and let you down, they are not the people you want to be around. Abuse is abuse, mental or physical or psychological, it is still abuse. The narcissist personality disorder can be the reason behind some people's treatment towards you. It is not an excuse of their mistreatment of you. There is no excuse to abuse another person. And nobody does anything to deserve being treated that way. Any examples of a narcissist that you recognise, please do add them into the comments.
This is Aziza Kabibi. I'm a published author, an activist, a chef, and a mother, which is the topic that I want to speak about today. I was recently on Evil Lives Here on Investigation Discovery, and it told some of the story of my life growing up being molested, raped, and physically abused by my biological father, MTV Music Video Award-winning director Aswad Ayinde. He directed Killing Me Softly and The Cowboys and One Mic for the Fugees. Now, if you don't know who the Fugees are, just look up Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, Proswell. They were the Fugees. They were really big and really hot in the late 90s, early 2000s. So my father was building up this huge music video directing career, and a lot of people didn't know that he was molesting and raping me. And over the years, I've had 4 children for him. Now, some of that was depicted on the show Evil Lives Here on Investigation Discovery, complete with dramatization. I mean, even the guy that played my father, they did a very good job, let's put it like that. But since I was on the show, it's been replaying. I've been on other television shows even before that. And one thing a lot of people have always asked me, as someone that was molested by their father from age 8 to being raped, brainwashed, beaten, a life threatened until they were 24 years old, where was my mom? My mom was in the house while everything was going on. She knew what was going on. I would say for probably about 2 years that my father was molesting me. She didn't know. But then she was made aware by him and one of his girlfriends that he was molesting and also having intercourse with me. I can't speak for her frame of mind during that period. To a degree, I don't understand why she would allow for something like that happening to her daughter to continue. I know as an activist and as someone who counsels other women that have survived abuse, the mental state of an abused woman, I don't think anyone can really understand unless they were in that woman's shoes. So while I witnessed and I was there for moments that we probably could have escaped, the lack of security, I guess, that she felt in herself and in those on the outside that may have helped her, clearly that was a factor in making her stay with my father in spite of what he was doing to me. A lot of people who reach out to me ask, why was my mother not charged? Why did she get away? Why didn't the police arrest her? Why wasn't she put behind bars? And though every state has some differences when it comes to their laws pertaining to an adult who knowingly witnesses child molestation and does not report it. In New Jersey, especially during the 80s, during that time, things weren't as clear-cut as they are now. Even when my case went to court against my father in 2013, things weren't as clear-cut as they are now. I remember it being a challenge for the prosecutor developing a case because at the time that the abuse was reported, I was an adult. So there was questions of why I did not report during. A lot of people ask me about that too. And, you know, for this video, I want to focus on my mother and why she wasn't charged. I will definitely do a video about that in the future. So please hit that subscribe button so you can be notified if you are interested. So you can be notified on when I post the video about me once I reach adulthood, not escaping or not being able to get away from the abuse that my father was inflicting on me and the rest of my family. But in my mom's case, going back to the laws, to New Jersey state laws, we are in New Jersey, even the statute of limitations of when a person can report child molestation changed from 5 years to no statute of limitations. So I really encourage everyone to, whether you're a survivor or not, it's just good knowledge to have. I'll link it down below. We have a link through my nonprofit organization, Precious Little Ladies, where you can actually check to see what is the statute of limitations in your state for reporting abuse. Then there was the fact that my mother was still married to my dad. She had been married to him for, at the time, I believe it was 25 years at the time. And there are things that surround a wife testifying against their husband. So one aspect of why my mother was not charged for standing on the sidelines and allowing her daughters to be raped and molested by this man was that in exchange for her testimony against my father, in exchange for the details of what happened from her perspective as a witness, the prosecutor decided to not charge her. She actually was read her rights. She was read her Miranda rights, but in the end, it seemed it was more important to get my father put away because of the complications of the entire case, my age, the fact there were so many children that I had for him. There was going to be some challenges with proving beyond reasonable doubt that my father had committed crimes of lewdness with a child, sex with a minor, actual abuse, coercion. You know, there was he was charged, I think, with 75 charges, 75 different charges. The prosecutor had to prove that he committed these crimes. And her as an adult witness, because of course when I was a child, the only people that knew were me and him for a long period of time, for about a year. Then he brought his girlfriend in. Now she was charged. She testified against my father as well as a witness, but because she was not married to him, that was easier to get. But she was charged with child abuse and she served 5 years in jail. My father abused, I think, about 50% of the women that he was intimately involved with. So I'm not making any excuses for my mother. And a lot of people do judge. They go into the comments, they email me, they say that my mother should have went to jail as well. And I mean, maybe realistically, maybe she should have, because essentially,
Who is John
The
Galt?
mother knew.
This is one of the most famous questions in one.
someone in her state of mind at the time technically shouldn't be allowed around children, but now it's different. She was also abused, not an excuse, but fear plays a huge role in a person staying with an abusive partner. Gaslighting. Insecurities. I mean, the mental chains as someone being abused, you really can't fathom or understand. Self-doubt, your own sense of self-worth. We're not even talking about, oh, well, I don't know what my value is as far as like I don't feel like, most people feel like they have some value. They have some sense of worth. But when you are abused and you are oppressed by someone close to you that you're supposed to love, that you do love, that's another thing. Love and fear together is to me, is like hellfire. To put those two things together. You are in love with someone and you fear them? Shoot, that's making for like slave mind, zombie mind. So it is what it is. And I don't know how else more to explain it. I have tried to encourage her to explain it for herself, but she's embarrassed. She's ashamed. Wouldn't you be? Wouldn't you feel that way? So that's the answer to the question. Why my mother did not do anything to protect me. For maternal instinct, as far as her maternal instinct, I'm not really sure. I don't know why. I can't really answer why she didn't get punished there. I just told you why she didn't get punished, why she didn't go to jail. Look, and I will put some links down in the notes as well. The laws, the justice system, the legal system, trust. It is not the easiest thing to navigate. And there are so many loopholes. So there it is. That's all I could say. So for all of those who asked me that question, I hope that this video answers your question. If you want any more details, definitely say so in the comments, and I will go over it and try to compile something that's a little, I guess, I don't know how much else to explain.
Things narcissism, narcissistic related. Today's a little bit of a longer video. It's one that many have asked for. I tried to make it as comprehensive as possible, but I'm sure I still missed some points, so always welcome comments and thoughts on that. But today's video is going to get at something that I actually usually talk more to professional audiences about, which is how does narcissism develop? In essence, how do people become narcissistic? Before we get to that, please welcome to this channel. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell if you want to get notifications whenever a new video comes up, which is every day. So let's take this question on. How do people become narcissistic? Where does this pattern that's hurting so many people come from? This is a question that comes up a lot. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm answering this question and making this video reluctantly. I'll tell you why. It's not because I don't want to share the information. Obviously, I'm a big believer knowledge should be shared. But I'll tell you why I'm reluctant. Sometimes what happens is once people hear these things.
Hold on. So I watched the Lips video, and she starts off by saying someone sent her a link. And the person that sent you a link is a link motherfucking lie. The person that sent you a link is you. I mean, why would you say that when we all know you record me? Why would you say that? I didn't understand. So we know you recorded me. We know you watched the video. We know you dropped down in Deanna's chat and you said you don't understand why I said you were looking for me. And now you're saying that you didn't watch the video. On the video. You are very sick.
They hear where this personality comes from. They often feel compelled to justify the narcissist's behavior. They'll say things like, oh, now that I know why they are the way they are, I kind of feel bad for them, and I just don't want to pull away from them. And great, so then you're just signing up to put up with more of the emotional abuse and remain even more stuck. I can only ask you to please hear this as a framework that's based in theory to help you understand these patterns. And I can also only ask you, please don't use them as a justification
you dry ass
for somebody's
motherfucking
mistreatment
bitch. Hold
of
on.
you or for
You
narcissism.
dry ass motherfucking bitch. You sit over there in that dry ass motherfucking chat talking about the same thing over and over and over and over with your boring plus dropping ass. Okay.
narcissistic behavior or for you enduring more abuse. I can't force you to do that. I can't come to your house and say, please don't do that. You're adults. You take this information and always recognize, though, that you can learn about where these patterns come from, but you can't change them.
Whether you shop in store, online, or on your phone.
Narcissism and narcissistic personality styles largely reflect developmental issues. Okay, so these are issues that sort of develop through childhood. The narcissistic personality that emerges in adulthood largely reflects what happened to the person as they came up through childhood into adolescence.
Right. So,
Our personalities
okay, so
start to
what happened to you as you were coming up in adolescence, or you was coming up to be an adult? You said your pelvis was broke, your eardrum was busted, your ass was beat and stomped and kicked. The man put fists to your motherfucking ass. Your child was raped and molested for years by the father. This is what you came to YouTube and said. Your mama decided to be gay. Your mama said no to you. Your mama wouldn't let you have your way. You ran away from home. You stabbed a girl at 12.
to develop from the day we are born.
Wait a minute.
pretty
Let me go
steadily
back
until our
just
early
a
to
little
mid-20s
bit. Okay.
behavior, or for you enduring more abuse. I can't force you to do that. I can't come to your house and say, please don't do that. You're adults. You take this information and always recognize, though, that you can learn about where these patterns come from, but you can't change them. Narcissism and narcissistic personality styles largely reflect developmental issues. Okay, so these are issues that sort of develop through childhood. The narcissistic personality that emerges in adulthood largely reflects what happened to the person as they came up through childhood into adolescence. Our personalities start to develop from the day we are born pretty steadily until our early to mid-20s. During these years, our brain's rapid phase of development goes throughout childhood and adolescence. In our mid-20s, things slow down a little bit. And I think it's safe to say that by about our mid-20s, kind of like a Jell-O mold that stops shaking, our personalities get pretty well set. There's a little room here and there, but they get pretty well set. So let's start at the difficult end of this, okay? Narcissistic personality styles. Okay, because this is probably the most difficult explanation. Narcissistic personality styles are suggested to be a manifestation of what happens to a personality after being exposed to or adverse childhood experiences, and may be a manifestation of post-traumatic symptomatology. So children and their personalities, these are shaped through neglect, abuse, inconsistency, and in many ways that some of the patterns that are observed in narcissism are consistent with some of the patterns we see in all kinds of post-traumatic presentations. For example, after trauma, people may experience things like restricted expression of emotion, a chronic perception of threat, even impulsivity. Narcissism can also reflect a disruption in attachment. Now, secure attachment is like the gold standard. It's what we hope that everyone can have. And secure attachments are created by early attachments, early relationships with consistent and available caregivers who give the child a sense of safety within themselves and with the world, who love them, and who foster important skills like self-regulation. Narcissism is not associated with a secure attachment style, but rather with what we term anxious and avoidant attachment styles. And these result in the person never, not as a child and not as an adult, ever feeling safe in close relationships. There's always this push and pull. They're in, they're out, they're in, they're out, and a relative incapacity for deep and sustained closeness and intimacy. This is challenging because having a history of trauma and difficulties with attachment aren't always observed in people with narcissistic personality styles. In addition, people who have those patterns in childhood don't always go on to develop narcissistic personality styles. In addition, it can feel hard to set boundaries or walk away from someone who's had this history, because knowing someone's had this kind of difficult history as a child all plays upon cognitive dissonance, justifications, rationalizations, and just feeling stuck for a person in a relationship with a narcissist. But like I said, probably the bulk of people who have these attachment and trauma issues in childhood don't go on to develop narcissism. So it's not a guaranteed path. Then there is the issue of temperament. Simply put, temperament is, I don't know, for lack of a better way to say it, sort of the biological part of personality. Temperament is actually believed to be inherited and can explain why even from the very beginning of our lives, or an infant's life or a person's life, some infants are more difficult to soothe, and some soothe so easily, and into childhood, while some children may simply just be more difficult, more behaviorally agitated, more attention-seeking. Temperament can be easier or more difficult. In some cases, temperament can really make things really difficult, because a child with a difficult temperament, quite frankly, definitely is going to have a more difficult go of it. When they're babies, their fathers may be more frustrated by them. As they grow up, teachers may not like them as much. Adults may find them more difficult as children. And what does that mean? That means that child can have a relatively invalidating experience with the world on the basis of their difficult temperament. Let's face it, on the other side, kids who have easy, resilient temperaments, those kids definitely have an easier go of it. They may be the more favored child because the parent often feels like a more confident parent with them. And they just may have an easier experience of the world because they kind of go with the flow more easily. Temperament may be in part a reason why children are differentially impacted by the experiences of their childhood. And it is very likely that it's the case that a subset of adult narcissists very likely had difficult or sensitive temperaments as children. And then you could see that if they also on top of that had adverse childhood experiences or any other difficult childhood experiences, or even things like disengaged parents, and these difficult kids are more likely to have disengaged parents because the kid was more difficult. So the parent may pull away a little bit or just be more frustrated. That combination of temperament and invalidation can also raise the vulnerability for a narcissistic personality style. However, there are also other developmental pathways at play when we think about how the narcissistic personality style evolves. Some people have called the development of narcissism as being caused by simultaneous over and under indulgence of a child. These are children who are spoiled with getting maybe things, getting experiences, I don't know, like going to a theme park or something, but whose emotional worlds remain really impoverished. It's the psychological equivalent, I don't know, of only being fed junk food. If you kept eating junk food, you wouldn't be hungry, but you're not nourished. For children who are raised in a sort of over and underindulged manner, their material needs are met, but they are not taught how to be comfortable or even with their emotions, or even have their emotions nurtured. They may even in some cases be shamed for having emotions, and they do not get to learn one of the most important things we are supposed to learn in childhood, which is self-regulation. being able to manage feelings and emotions.
Cash App's debit card is customizable and there's a glow-in-the-dark version, so you can always find it. Just open the app, choose your color, and draw your design right on your phone. Cash Card saves you money instantly. Just open Cash App, choose which restaurant or store you want to save at, and the discount gets applied as soon as you.
Now, a not insignificant proportion of narcissists may have had a narcissistic parent or parents themselves. And so certain elements of narcissism, particularly entitlement, rage, other dysregulated demonstrations of emotion, arrogance, superficiality, can all be learned through something called modeling. The child doing what he or she sees. When a child sees something, they tend to repeat it, especially if they see it repeatedly. They'll see the father who yells at the soccer coach, the mom who yells at store clerks and hotel clerks. Kid sees enough of this, and it starts to become normalized and may, not always, but may get mirrored in adult behavior. Narcissistic parents and other parents with difficult personality styles also have really, really bad boundaries. And what they'll do is almost inject their emotions and expectations and their needs into their child all the time. A simple example of this could be when the child does express an emotion. Mommy, I feel sad. And mommy doesn't say the right answer. The right answer is, oh, honey, that's so hard. And she soothes her child, holds her child, and gives the child permission to talk about it and even recognizes they may not be able to fix it. But what we tend to see a little bit more often in children who are at risk for developing narcissism is a parent who uses the child's emotional state as an opportunity to make it about them. And the child says, Mommy, I'm sad. And a narcissistic mother could say, oh, goodness, this sad, you just made mommy sad. When you're sad, mommy's sad. Whoa, hello, what just happened? The child just learned now that their emotions are a problem. The child doesn't want to have the responsibility for making mommy sad. So now the child says, I'm sad, and now mommy just made it about her. Not only do they start negating and avoid sharing their emotions, but they may not even fully understand where their emotions end and the emotions of other people begin. And in adulthood, where we see this happen for narcissistic individuals, this is manifested as the narcissist, again, not seeing that difference between them and others, not fully understanding how they impact other people, or simply just not having any understanding of their inner world. The example I gave you also shows us how tricky all of this is. Some of you may be thinking, damn, my parent did that to me all the time, and now I'm actually not narcissistic, but I waste a lot of time trying to babysit other people's emotions and worry about everyone else's emotions. See, that's what I'm saying. There's no guaranteed singular pathways. That's where temperament and all of these other factors come getting mixed up. None of this is a perfect science. That's part of the struggle. And so, yeah, you could have had a parent like this and be whatever the opposite of narcissism is. So we end up having to sort of back construct these narratives. If we go to some of the work, the theoretical work by someone named Winnicott, he calls this whole experience the false self, the parent sort of sticking their self into the child. And the child then internalizes the parent's needs over their own. And this false self in the narcissist has sort of run amok. And that's where they've sort of internalized this parent, and then they no longer are aware of others. Conditional love is a phenomenon that many children are subjected to. The idea of usually it starts with a parent saying, I love you if, or I love you when, or I only love you if. Fully actualized growth in a human being requires unconditional regard. A parent saying, I love you. Done. It doesn't mean the parent likes everything you do, but it does mean that the parent loves the child and doesn't confuse the whole child with the child's behavior. A healthy parent would apply appropriate consequences so the child learns appropriate behavior, but the child knows they're loved, so they feel safe. The validation seeking of narcissists is in part very much a byproduct of getting almost only conditional love. I love you if you get a trophy. I love you when you win. And this is really pronounced for parents that I call the performing pony style of parenting. The parents who validate the child only when the child performs, only when the child wins. These are the parents who are front and center, cheering the child on when the kid gets the trophy, when the kid scores the winning touchdown, when the kid is the number one in the ballet performance or the science fair or the spelling bee or is helping in the family business. Yeah, that's my kid. Look at them. Yes, of course it's good for parents to be proud. I sit in the front row if my kid's in a show too. But these kids are winning or excelling or doing what the parent needs. The parent, of course, is nowhere to be found when that kid isn't doing what the parent wants them to be. It's all very conditional. And again, I also know some of you who are watching this are thinking again, damn, my parents never showed up to anything. It would have been nice to have even had conditional love from them, like that they even knew I existed. And I get that. It sucks all around. Parents should just love their kids. And if they show up,
Did you leave your wallet, purse, or cash at home? Make paying with your phone happen.
and it's conditional, then you know that whatever love you're getting is about what you bring to the table. That's not a nice feeling for a child. If they don't show up at all, you can believe you aren't even worthy of any regard, not even an hour of their time to show up at your soccer game. And as we go deeper into the era of helicopter parents and bubble wrap parents, parents who overprotect their children and shield them from everything, that too can be a risk for bringing upon narcissistic tendencies that will sort of start in childhood, but then boom, show up in adulthood. Many parents make the huge error of trying to shield their children from disappointment. Childhood is where we are supposed to learn from the disappointments, big and small. The lost soccer game, the bad grade, the not being invited to a birthday party, the lost pet, not getting onto the team or into the play. So many parents view their children as performative extensions of themselves that the parents themselves can't stand the disappointment that their child is going through and try to shield everyone from it. And these are also the entitled parents that try to stack the deck so their child doesn't experience any disappointment. They may strong arm the schools, they may strong arm the coaches and the teachers and buy a new pet right away, right after the one pet gets sick and dies, talking smack about the kid who didn't invite you to the birthday party. It's tempting. Gosh, it is tempting to fix things for a kid, but it does a child absolutely no favors. Childhood is the time when a child must learn to regulate disappointment in a safe, loving space. But we know one thing, obviously, what happens to narcissists is that they don't do disappointment. And when they are disappointed, or basically just don't get their way, their adult tantrums can put a 3-year-old to shame. In a generation of parents, as this generation has been, trying to compensate for what their parents got wrong, overprotecting a child from reality and from disappointment can put them at risk, put that child at risk for going on to become a relatively dysregulated adult and for being much more stress reactive as adults, both of which are patterns we see in narcissism. there's definitely an emotionally stunted quality to the narcissistic personality. For example, the narcissistic personality is somebody who, at the age of 50, they continue to function and value things in the same way as we typically see about an adolescent. And they still tantrum like a 3-year-old. They look like adults. They often have jobs like adults. They have stuff like adults, but their inner worlds can often remain quite undeveloped, which actually makes sense because these different kinds of developmental experiences I've been talking about, in many ways, keep them stuck.
Mm.
We're not done yet, though. There's more things that can lead to narcissism in adulthood. The extrinsic focus, the external focus of how we raise kids doesn't help. The phones, the gadgets for people who can afford them, the vacations, the expensive theme park days. And when you couple that with the social media soaked and obsessed world, we're watching in front of our eyes, we're watching 17-year-olds amass vast wealth on the basis of dancing on social media. The world and the economy have changed. The world has changed. And is social media making things worse in the world of narcissism? Absolutely yes. And then when you add to that parents who have agendas for their kids about succeeding in this external space, it then becomes about the child becoming one more pathway for the parent to get validation. The child becomes a sort of ego extension for the parent. And the child goes into adulthood believing that they are the things they achieve, the trophies on the shelf, rather than valuing who they are simply as human beings. Now, everything I've described, trauma, insecure attachments, being conditionally valued, parental inconsistency, parental unavailability, only being valued for external characteristics, these are all things that could potentially foster the bedrock of narcissism, which is insecurity. Whatever fosters insecurity in a child, and that insecurity can proliferate unchecked into adulthood, places a person at risk for narcissism in adulthood. And when the person, in the face of this insecurity, develops grandiose defenses such as entitlement to protect that core insecurity, we see that evolution into narcissism. Heck, if all we did was raise safe, secure children who had parents that were mindful and present, narcissism rates would drop. That is not going to happen. I've said this a million times before, and here I say it again. Another way we maintain the development and the sustenance of narcissism is plain old enabling. While enabling may not foster it in a child, it can though if the child is very sort of spoiled.
Is a little different. I have been juggling for a couple of months if this even makes sense to do. And this is really the first time where I'm gonna give you guys a journey. And I'm gonna have to give myself that journey and that timeline and relive it just so that I could get it out there and hopefully give someone the courage to tell their story, whatever that story may be. If this is not a topic you feel comfortable with, then please skip my video because it is a trigger warning. It is about sexual assault. Although I do feel that it is important to listen to people's stories and hear different points of views. And when I say points of views, I mean hear it from the victim, put yourself in their shoes, and try to come from a different place. And this I'm targeting towards those that are so quick to disregard, I don't like the word victim, but they're so quick to disregard the person that's been abused and just wonder, well, why didn't you say anything sooner? Well, this person, I've never met this version of this person that you're talking about. And while I totally understand that, why would any person that does that, why would they want it to be known? It's a sickness. Like, it's not something where you have an on and off switch. So moving forward, I'm about to start. A handful of you guys already know my story. I had a pretty great upbringing. There were struggles, but my mother made sure that I never felt them, if that makes sense, or knew of them. She always exceeded her level of parenting. Like, my mother had 4 jobs at one point, and she took care of my grandmother with Alzheimer's at the same time while raising me. And my mom had me when she was 27. So think about, for those of you that are 27 and above, you're still finding yourself within that time. Like, I feel like 28, 29 was when a switch flipped and I grew up a little bit and I started to like want to love myself more and want to get to know who I am as a person and grow. And my mom was raising me, having 4 jobs, and taking care of my grandmother with Alzheimer's alone. She had a foundation of amazing friends that I call family till this very day. But she still did it alone. And I commend her. Now, my father, I want to say that now as an adult, looking back, I know he had a troubled childhood, and I know that he was a bouncer, and I know that what he cared about, this is what I remember as a child. I know that his main focus was women, clout, and like clothes and like materialistic things. And when he would pick me up, it was always a show. It was always fun. It was always like, we're going to go shopping. But at a young age, the definition of picking me up for the weekend was taking me to his girlfriend's houses, the girls that he was seeing at the time. Again, this is coming from me and what I saw and what I remember as a child of those memories. It wasn't until I was about 7 years old when I think around 7. I always say 7 because I was very young and he was with this girlfriend that lived in Sunnyside, Queens, which I live actually 20 to 30 blocks away from where this woman used to live. And I remember because there was like a certain movie theater and we would turn the corner on the movie theater and go to her house, and she was like a brunette-ish redhead. Her name was Faye, and I used to stay there for the weekend. She was a very sweet woman, but that's the woman he was with at the time. That's when my assault began. One of the most vivid memories for me was my hair was very big. My hair was very big and difficult to comb and take care of. So my mom always used to braid my hair, but this time my hair wasn't braided. So all I remember is that it was probably a Sunday and time for me to go back home to my mom. So my dad was doing my hair, and I believe that Faye was in either her bedroom or the shower. The one thing I remember about this apartment vividly is that it was a sunken living room. It had I remember the wood floors. I remember her cream walls, and I remember having to go down 2 steps in order to get into the living room. And it had like the cute little black gates. I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about if you've been to an apartment like that. But my memory remembers that vividly. And I was staring at it when my dad was doing my hair. And I just remember him saying, like, you know, like, this is our secret. This is our little thing. Like, I don't even remember it happening, if I'm being honest. I don't remember it happening. In that house or that night, I remember him saying, this is our thing. Like, this is our little secret. And I just didn't know what that meant, but I was like, yeah, I will never say anything. I won't tell Mom. I carried that with me. And then I guess I spaced and I blanked out. I don't remember anything else except that I used to sleep with him. Like, that's one thing. I never slept alone. I never slept alone when I went to these girls' houses. Like, he slept with me. And it was always when he got home, like, from a night at the club. The next memory that I remember, and these memories hold, like, they just hold, was when he was with Jackie, who I considered like my stepmother, because I was around 8 years old when I met her, because I was heading to the 3rd grade. I never forget that. And she lived in Jersey City. And here's what I remember. He used to work at a nightclub. He would come home really late. He never slept with her. He would always, this is the door, right? Let's say this is the door. And then this is the living room. It was a brownstone, like a brownstone shaped home. This is the living room. And there was always a sofa bed that opens. That's where I always slept. Now, Jackie's room had like white double doors. This is the door to come into the house, white double doors, and then that's her bedroom. He never slept in there. He would sleep with me. But what I remember are me closing my eyes like really, really, really tight, like really, really, really tight, until it felt like my eyelashes were hurting me. And it was like me preparing for something. And every time he would get home, like, that's when he would touch me. And I remember, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced sleep paralysis. But that feeling of not being able to move is what I remember. All the time. And I keep trying to remember throughout all of these years when and how it stopped. I don't know. I just know that I was now probably like 11. That I remember. Because it got to a point where I remember it feeling like a schedule, like a routine, something that I mentally had to prepare myself for. But I don't even remember knowing if it was wrong. I don't remember knowing if, and you know, your parents have that conversation with you. My mom used to like have that literal conversation with me all the time. You never sit on a man's lap. You always tell me if you know a man touches you and blah blah blah. Why am I gonna say that? Like, I brought it up in a letter to my father around 12 or 13. And I remember writing in the letter, like this letter was long. I believe it was like 3 or 4 pages. I'll never forget. I hand wrote it. I remember the tears falling on the fucking paper. Like, I remember this. And I told him, like, you don't even know my favorite colors. I don't know why you don't like love your daughter. I don't know why you don't want to be there for me. Like, all the things that you did.
Felt lonely, he could always tell. He was my friend. But it doesn't happen overnight.
And by the time you realize something's wrong, when a person manipulates you to gain your trust, it's called grooming.
And grooming can happen to anyone. But it doesn't happen overnight.
And by the time you realize something's wrong,
you feel like you can't stop it. Senior Pastor Paul was the head guy at my church. Everyone loved him. Because of him, I wanted to be a church leader. So I talked to him whenever I could. When he picked me to be his assistant at church, my parents were so proud. I could see my whole future ahead of me.
Thanks for the help again, Lucas. I'd be lost without you.
He was a great mentor. Maybe you could do more on. We talked about guy stuff and growing up and life. And everything made sense. He made me feel smart. And when I felt lonely, he could always tell. He was my friend. The church was my whole world. I wanted to be just like Pastor Paul. So if his long hugs made me uncomfortable, or his touches confused me, I'd tell myself I was wrong for feeling that way. Because I trusted him. He was supposed to be right.
For me, the attention I got from my boss messed with my head, you know? I thought I was supposed to like it. I was stoked to have a job and to be making money. But when my boss AJ was around, things got confusing. She'd get close and talk about how I was her best worker and favorite guy. At first, the attention was nice, and an older woman maybe being into me, every guy's dream, right? She'd invite me to hang out in her office and gave me beer.
Sometimes Paul picked me for special work with him.
I've got some more work to do in my office. Do you want to join me, Lucas?
I felt important. Even though when we were alone, he would do weird things. Sometimes when we were in his office, he would show me porn. He said it was to teach me about sin and temptation. When he touched me, he said it was a way for people to show love. But it made me feel sick.
AJ was my first boss. Fresh Pack was my first job. And money was freedom, you know? And I wanted to keep my job. So I played along. Until this one night, when I closed. Hey, AJ, nobody else is scheduled for the night shift.
No, it's just gonna be us. You'll keep me safe.
Guys, that they... Greetings, welcome again, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I want to get into this video and speak about narcissistic stalker mindsets, you know, why they're prevalent and why they're out here in the first place. I get a lot of people have asked about the gang stalking and narcissist stalking and these type of things, so we're going to speak on it. Oftentimes, we see many that have dealt with individuals that are extremely invested in others, where it becomes an obsession leading to stalking. And this this can easily happen, especially if the individual becomes fixated on a specific person. All right. And we see where people are stalking and we don't know why. Right. And there's some underlining things that I'm going to get into later in the video that is going to give you an indication of where the stalking mindset actually comes from case study or whatnot. But within the mind of the individual that is stalking, at some point they have made it a point to prioritize things that are unimportantly applicable to themselves in any way, shape, or form. Meaning that they have deeply invested and taken the time to put themselves in the position to be fixated on something that usually doesn't have anything to do with them or is out of the scope of range in which they should be concerned with. In the mind of the stalker, these traits start to develop specific justifications to carrying on with such toxic behaviors. Okay? They will, they'll go into, they'll start to come up with reasons that are pretty much invalid as to why they are doing what they're doing in their minds. Okay, and this is a big part where we look at part of this being psychosis within these individuals. And make no mistake about it, stalkers are mentally disordered. They are mentally disturbed people in some sort of way. Okay? Just as, just as it is with, individuals that come up with, these ideas in their mind and they form a reason for why they do what they do. This is the same thing with stalkers. And stalkers do not recognize that they have a problem either. They don't recognize that they have a problem. Just as narcissists
Wait a minute, let me say this right
and other
quick.
cluster B disorders don't realize that they have a problem either. All right. And this is the same thing with narcissistic stalkers.
Yeah, let me say this right quick.
You'll see them going at it with such, just rigor, like almost like they're possessed. It makes no sense, especially for things that's not benefiting them or helping them to excel or progress in their own lives, to invest so much time in something else outside of them that serves no purpose in their well-being. How does stalking play itself?
Okay, now that you said Shannon Brown / Shakina Thurgood / Bust Down Brown / Low Lip / lip / see, my laptop's about to die / what was the other name? La Kina / Fake Kina / Fuck Kina. I mean, it goes on. So now that you have said out of your own lips lip, I got it from the lips lip, you said You didn't watch the video. So now that we know you did not watch my live and you're not watching this live, you will not, I repeat, you will not be doing a live about this video. You will not be taking my live over to your greasy table and going through it with a fine-tooth comb of grease and pus. None of this will happen today, tomorrow, yesterday, a week. You're going to continue to ignore 2300. Act like she's not over here saying anything about you following her over to the beef sector. Let's keep it on the low, Lip. Did you get it? Keep it on the low, Lip. See you later.